I think you should get the press release momentarily. If you're ready, I'm here to announce that the prison emergency in California, which has been the prison emergency is over in California. Today I've signed this proclamation stating that the troubled situation in California prisons has been remedied. We spent billions of dollars. We've hired hundreds, if not thousands, of professionals to make sure that we have excellent health care and excellent mental health care. And because of that, it is now time to return the control of our prison system to California. We have the constitutional obligation, we have the expertise, and we're ready to do it. There's no question that there were big problems in California prisons. Overcrowding, lack of health care, lack of mental health care, and lots of other problems. But after decades of work, the job is now complete. And that's why today I've signed the executive order eliminating the emergency. It'll be fully operative this summer. That's number one. Number two, I filed papers last night to terminate the federal oversight of the mental health system. This is a very intrusive effort by federal judges to fix and remedy problems in the prison system. But at some point, the job's done. I want you to see just what prison oversight actually means. These are reports, 25 of them, that cost, we paid the master about $48 million. That's just what we paid him. And we've got hundreds of lawyers wandering around the prisons looking for problems. We've got a master that flies all the way across the continent and files these reports that now are becoming nitpicking. They're looking that some little report wasn't happening. Prisoners in a pill line had to wait a few extra minutes. I mean, we've gone from serious constitutional problem to one of the finest prison systems in the United States. Most of the people in prison get far better care for mental health problems or their physical well-being inside the prison than they'll get once they're released on the streets. So that's the second goal, is to terminate the oversight of our mental health system. The third is we want to remove the cap on the number of people that we can hold in our prisons. Our prisons are not overcrowded. I know there's a design capacity, but that's a somewhat arbitrary figure. The experts that not only work here in California, but whom we've hired to come and look at our system, advise me that our system is meeting the highest standards of health care and mental health care. And for that reason, there's no justification for the federal court to say you can only hold a certain number of people in the prisons. The prisons are now being run well, and there's no further need for this kind of prison cap. I know a few months ago, the federal court said, well, you have to get to a certain number. That's before we've had a thorough review of the prison system as to its health care improvements, and it's there. Finally, under protest, we're offering some options for further release. But make no mistake about it, releasing prisoners who are convicted of serious and dangerous crimes is not in the public interest. It's not what the people of California have expressed through initiative, through their legislative representatives. And as the governor, I'm here to tell you, I don't believe it's wise or sound public policy to release any more people out of our prison other than in accordance with our existing state law. And that is the reason why we are going to court asking that the prison cap or limit be removed. Finally, these options that were presented were ordered by the court to let out more, show us how they can let out more people from our prisons. We've shown them how, but we don't like it, and we don't think it's any good. The counties already are laboring under realignment, and all the tens of thousands of people that they now have to supervise, they didn't have to before. So it's not a smart idea or a sound idea to add further to the burden of the counties. The task is not to go through these reports. By the way, very few people have read these. I doubt if anybody on earth has read all of them, and yet we're paying for them. We've got it. Enough already. So the task now is to work on drug treatment, rehabilitation, job readiness, and reentry. We've got a new prison director. We're geared up. We're ready to go, and we will make that case before the courts. And whether we prevail or not in the Ninth Circuit, I'll fight it as long as it takes. As Attorney General 7 years ago, I started this battle, and I'm going to continue it. We have education. We've got the university. We've got health care. We can't let this drain on our scarce general fund dollars continue at the level of the last few years. It's not needed. It's not justified. It's not constitutional. And I believe we will prevail in court. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
The other side of that is that the property crimes appear to be increasing in California, and a lot of the local police authorities blaming realignment, saying a lot of miscreants are being let out of county jails to make room for state diverted felons. And what's your response to that?
Well, Dan, I'm glad you raised that. That reinforces our argument to remove the prison cap, to not release any more serious felons out of our state prison other than those that are required under existing law. So that makes that point. In terms of realignment, I reject the notion that this is contributing to anything but the public interest. People commit crimes in the local community, and they are now, to a greater degree, being supervised, being rehabilitated, or being incarcerated locally. We're transferring billions of dollars to achieve that goal. I think it's very sound. And there we are. We have some people who say there are not enough dangerous felons on the street. We have another group who says, wait a minute, stop, we've got too many. I think we've hit the right balance, and I will continue pushing that objective, because we have to bring down our prison spending, our correctional costs, as we invest more money in our schools and our education, as voted in Proposition 30.
Governor, are you saying that...
As a follow-up to Dan's comment on realignment, you received a letter from a group of Valley lawmakers last month concerned about the formulas in realignment, saying they didn't have enough money in their counties to deal with these people. Can you respond? Are you going to change that? Are you going to work on that? Are you going to push a change?
This is a very complex government undertaking. Realignment is not some slogan. It's a complicated readjustment in a long-standing method of handling criminals in our state. So, yes, we're going to be tweaking it, we're going to be adjusting it, we'll calibrate it, and we listen to what people say. But remember, money is a big deal around here. People always want more, not less. So we'll allocate it in the wisest way we can, and where we can make improvement in realignment, certainly that will be welcome.
So they may not get everything they're looking for, I guess is what you're trying to say.
No one is going to get everything they're looking for. Self-restraint, fiscal discipline, and working together is the watchword of 2013.
Governor, are you saying then that people were released under AB 109 that should not have been?
No, 109.
Well, we're talking about the people that were moved to the
no
counties.
one released under 109.
Well, I know that's a matter of semantics.
No, it's not a matter of semantics. They don't come to the state because they commit these crimes, which are lower level, in the community, and we want the community that spawns the crime to handle the crime. And we're giving them billions of dollars that are now constitutionally guaranteed by Proposition 30 to be available for years into the future. So, yes, it's difficult, but we're torn between the prison lawyers and the ACLU and others who say, wait a minute, we need thousands more out of your prisons, and then we have other people who say, no, we need thousands more into your prisons. And if we give in to the extremes, we will either create a threat to public safety or spend billions of dollars more. I have found a middle path that is the best that I can figure. Now, if other people have some other ideas, I'll listen. But I really think we've had some good people working on it. And after decades of confusion and plenty of mismanagement, our prison system is under some very top leadership, and I'm confident they can handle it.
Let me just rephrase the question then. Were there people released under realignment that should not have been put on the streets. You
No.
have cities like Fresno that had tremendous spikes in crime because known gang members were released onto the streets. Were there people released under realignment that should not
We
have
didn't
been?
release anybody. We're saying that at the local level, handle the less serious crimes, and if people violate parole from state prison under certain conditions, those are handled locally. Look, the name of the game in politics is to shift responsibility. We all do it, okay? So if you're down at the local level, the crime spikes, you got to point to the Sacramento's problem. Look, it's all of our responsibility to make a prison system that is fiscally sound and that protects public safety. I'm doing it the best way we can. We don't have a lot of money. We got to pay down the wall of debt. We have uncertain economic times. We can't pour more and more dollars down the rat hole of incarceration. We have to spend as much as we need, but no more. And I think we've hit that at that point in accordance with the plans that I put out. Anybody's got better ideas, I'll look at them. But I reject the claims from Fresno and from Los Angeles and other places. Well, listen to them, but we're squeezed here. The federal Supreme Court says, let them out. My conscience tells me, don't let all of them out and protect. And that's what this system is. It's a middle path that's well-informed. It's not political. This is not trying to shift blame or responsibility. We take responsibility. And I do take responsibility for realignment. I think it's the boldest move in criminal justice in decades. And it's long overdue. Yes.
Governor, how are you going to convince the Ninth Circuit? I mean, you've taken many of these arguments to the U.S. Supreme Court, were turned back. The administration has argued to have
Yes.
this, newer conditions considered in whether the cap should be lifted. They turned you back. They said, go back to the Ninth Circuit. You've requested this before to them, and they're saying we want a plan, and they don't look likely to
Big difference.
change their minds.
The last time we had to go up to the Supreme Court, we were prevented by the court from introducing evidence of the changed conditions in our prison. There's a mythology that somehow prison medical care is not as good as on the outside. Not true. We have hired experts to come in and actually go through the prisons, and they've come back, and those are declarations that you can get, they're in the court filings, that say our system of care is among the best in the United States, if not in the world. We now have the documentary evidence to make our case. I'm hopeful we'll prevail in the Ninth Circuit. If we don't, we have a direct appeal on the matter of the prison cap to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we will go there if needed.
And yet
Governor,
the
you
federal
mentioned that
receiver
some of
says you're not done, and the attorneys for the inmates have said this is the preventable deaths remain high, and that's the highest suicide rate ever in last year.
I categorically reject those. You know, this is the business of he said, she said. You have conscientious people standing behind me. You can answer them some questions because I'm going to leave in about 10 minutes. We're trying to do the best by public safety. This is not a game. And I didn't come here, I'm going to be 75 in April, just to screw around. I'm trying to fix this state that has been screwed up for a long time. And we're fixing the money problems, we're fixing the prison problems. And I believe that the U.S. Supreme Court, if it gets to that, will affirm that we have spent this money. By the way, we've spent billions and billions of money that is not going to child care, it's not going to schools, it's not going to higher ed, it's going to build, it's going to gold plate, at this point, a prison system. And the lawyers for the other side can say all they want, but I don't think they got a case, and I'm confident we'll either win in the Ninth Circuit or we'll win on appeal.
Governor, you mentioned that some of the counties are laboring under realignment. I'd like you to address, if you could, GPS tracking, the monitoring of prisoners who've been released. We know CDCR has told us that there are hundreds of them out there that have cut their GPS bracelets. They're not being monitored. Senator Lieu has introduced a measure to make that a felony, send them back to prison. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, look, everybody wants to send people to prison. Nobody wants to pay for it. There's only so much money. We're proposing increases in education at the higher level and at K through 12. If people think it's a better investment to divert that money to prisons, they can try. But I'm going to fight it. And I'm going to fight it hard because I think at, what, 8 or 9 billion that we're spending at the state level and tens of billions more at the local level and in the courts. We have enough money in the criminal justice system. What we need to do now is to collaborate, work as best we can to make it as safe as possible. We know people get out of prison even after they serve their term and they commit serious crimes. 50, 70% who are released righteously under the law do some other offense and they got to come back. It's not a perfect system. It's not a totally safe world. I'm trying to find the balance point, the middle path that spends the right amount of money to achieve a decent amount of public safety. That's what I'm trying to do. If the legislature wants to divert money, certainly I'll look at that. I don't think they don't want to do it. Most people want to spend more money than the state has. And I will tell you, 2013 is the year of fiscal discipline and living within our means. And I'm going to make sure that happens.
Governor, speaking of...
By the way, living within our means means we don't get everything. You know, people want to have more child care. They want to have more people locked up. They want to have more rehab, more judges, more courtrooms. We have to live within reasonable limits. That's
Governor, speaking of budget priorities, there's been legislation introduced to give state workers a new state holiday just weeks after taxpayers gave you more taxes. Is this the right time?
Is this a bill introduced?
Yes.
Look, they're bringing about 4,000 of them. And I don't want to comment on all of them.
But this one is a state holiday for state workers.
Look,
bill
I
aside.
got your point. Yeah. You can take this to the bank. We're not going to spend money that we can't afford to spend. And we all are going to have to sacrifice according to our means. And I will look at the holiday.
Governor,
I don't know what else. Does that mean they work on Saturday to make up for that? Do we work a little later? We have to do more with less. That's just the way life is.
Governor, without talking about
I'll get to everybody.
Without talking about any specific legislation, there's been a lot of talk about stricter gun control regulations. Could you address that, and also could you give us a progress?
No, I can't address that because there are so many damn bills out there that if I spent all my time reading them in January, I would never get my budget out. So I have to take it one step at a time. You've got to get the story. Wait, I got it. You got to get the story before it even has been created. I've got to create the basis of the story, and we're in a little bit of different time sequence here. So I am moving along on my path. You're trying to get me onto your path. Somewhere we'll meet in the middle.
Governor,
and we'll have time to talk about
Governor, could I
the
ask?
question is valid because as the head of state,
Yeah.
people are concerned about the issue of guns after what happened in Newtown.
Right.
They'd like to know what you think about it.
Right. I'm not going to talk about it today because this is a very important matter that we've been struggling with for decades. Where now we see light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I want to talk about. Yes, guns are important. I've signed some bills last year. California has the strongest gun laws in the country. I'll be glad to look at other ones. But I've got stuff on water, on high-speed rail, on weighted student formula. I mean, you name it, we got it. Enough.
Since I failed
By the way,
on
I got a
that.
press conference coming up on Thursday. I may have a lot of them over the next couple of months. I'm going to see a lot of you guys.
Governor, could I ask you?
Wait, let's.
So what happened with your plan to?
Wait, go ahead.
Could I ask you for an update on the prostate cancer treatments? It was going to be finished this week.
It's finished.
Are you better?
You choose. I feel,
So
guys, I'm ready. I'm ready to go, and don't expect me to leave too soon.
So, Governor, what happened with the plan to deport inmates with immigration hold that they don't have serious crimes? That was
We're
in
looking-
process.
You're talking about the federal
No.
detainers after people have been arrested. We are working on a bill that will protect public safety, but make the system more compassionate and more sensible.
No, I'm
Yeah.
talking about the ones that are already in state prisons.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're going to stay in the state prison until their time for release has occurred. Now, some people will be deported. I guess most people, if they have a deportation order. Now, if you're telling me someone's in prison and they, were selling enchiladas without a permit, that's not really what's happened. They're in prison because they committed a felony. It's hard to get into a California prison. So those who get out will probably be on their way to their country of origin.
Governor, how much are you spending in fighting
Wait.
the ninth
How much
district
time
on
are they
this.
spending?
Yeah, in other words, the advocates for prison law office, advocates for inmates, question why you're putting so much energy into fighting the reduction of a further 6,000 to 9,000 inmates, which they argue could be done easily and cheaply, rather than dragging the state through yet another round all the way up to the Supreme Court. And is it stubbornness? I've read most of those.
I've read some of them.
Right.
I mean, you know what? You picked the thing
And
up. You know,
why not early
you know
release?
the acronyms go for 6 pages? Just the acronyms. I don't agree with what the prison
Right.
advocates are
So-
saying.
but why not
My
early
job is
releases?
public safety, not advocating at public expense. They had a good point.
Mm-hmm.
The prison systems were screwed up. We've done a lot to fix them. But just a couple of years ago, Arnold Schwarzenegger and the prison lobby wanted the state to spend $8 billion on all sorts of new prison facilities, including those with yoga rooms. I stopped that. I told Schwarzenegger, don't do that. That's a dumb idea. I've been at this for 7 years. I'm looking to have a reasonable prison system. We have a blueprint. We're totally committed to drug treatment, rehabilitation. I'm taking a much more, I think, progressive position with respect to paroles and pardons. I want to make the system humane, but I want to make it protective of public safety. This is my judgment. I don't stick in one position unreasonably. I listen to people. I'll read what the other side says. We'll meet them in court. And we think we're right. And we're not being dragged. Well, we are being dragged, but it isn't me doing that. It's, you know, when you try to run a prison system, which these individuals, Terry and Martin, they have to run this thing. Now you have all these lawyers crawling all over the place looking for this and that. I mean, if we had put you under federal oversight, I bet we'd find Walters isn't doing quite what he's supposed to do, and Siders probably leaves a few Post-it notes on his desk, and somebody else doesn't clean the I mean, the fact of the matter is, these are good people, you know? Look at these guys. The whole premise is that they're bad, or they're ignorant. I reject that. California is a powerful state. We can run our own prisons. And by God, let those judges give us our prisons back. We'll run them right. All right? That's it. I got to go. One more question.
Just want to clarify, you're not talking about getting rid of the receiver, and I was hoping you could also comment about.
Oh, we're not today, but we're going to get rid of the receiver.
But that's not what this filing was last night. Okay.
This filing.
The other question I wanted to ask was, you mentioned the impact that this has on the budget, and I'm wondering how much of this reform would play into your budget plans for the future. Is this a big portion of getting these burdens off of your plate, big to your budget plans?
In two respects, we're wasting a lot of money on nonsense. Number two, by diverting our effort, we can't have our management leadership handle the prisons according to their best judgment. I want to work on drug treatment. I want to work on more guys getting their high school degree, their college degree, getting ready to go out into the world, more reentry programs. Now we've reduced over 43,000. People act like nothing happened. 43,000 fewer people in prison. Billions and billions of dollars are spent. All I'm here to tell you is we've won. We've done it. The prison groups, they've actually beat down the great state of California. We've shaped up. We're standing at attention. We're ready to go forward. And these people are not politicians. They were here before me. They're doing a good job. They got a lot of people before them. I've taken their own expert, and I've made him the head of the corrections. So, you know, what more do they want? I think you got a pretty good deal here, and I'm going to fight for it because I believe it's right. I believe it protects public safety, it saves public funds, and it's consistent with the sovereign right of the state of California to manage its most essential function, and that is taking care of its criminal justice.
Can you balance the budget without these changes?
These are part of the program. We have a lot of things. This is one piece.
But I mean, is this a big enough piece that you'd have a problem balancing the budget if this wasn't?
This is a big human piece. We're talking about people's lives. We're talking about trying to run a system that makes sense. And if there's something wrong to me, when we give health care better than I'd say most people don't get as good a health care as we get in the prisons. And yet we're told it's bad. And I can tell you that people who fly across the continent and make these enormous sums to tell us how bad everything is, they don't want to go away. I mean, the name of the game here is come to Sacramento and get your little piece of the pie. Well, I'm the cook here, and I got to cut the slices in fair amounts, and I think we've cut a big enough slice for the prison, the world of prisons, and I'm ready to move on. So that's why we're here, and I think it won't take too much more time to go to the Ninth Circuit, and I think they're going to be impressed that the very critic, namely the plaintiff's expert witness, is now running the system. So he's very well aware of the issues that are at hand here. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you Thursday at 9.
How's that
10.
gonna be?
What?
How's that gonna be? Is that gonna be
Fabulous.
bad news or?
All good. All good.
10 o'clock.
Did he say 9 or 10?
He said 9, but it's 10, isn't it?
I thought it was 9.
Oh, it is 9.